Assalamu alaikum, sisters and brothers. I'm Nicolette Hodge, and welcome to We Reflect the Light. All right, sisters and brothers, this is Famine Part 2. We're going to discuss how the war in the Middle East is going to lead to a famine, sisters and brothers. First, we'll start off with what they're saying in the news, and then we'll identify what the unsealed scriptures have to say about the war in the Middle East, identifying the key participants, how they are aligned with each other, and the outcome of the war in the Middle East. We will then identify our vision, sisters and brothers. We have one vision to unite under. And then we will also identify the history that supports or that is directly tied to our vision, sisters and brothers. So let's get right into it.
It is becoming clearer to people around the world that the United States has been losing the war against Iran, which the US itself started. And this is being discussed not only in foreign countries, but also in Washington, D.C. Today I'm going to be explaining how neoconservative war hawks in Washington, who were architects of the Iraq War and the wars on Libya and Syria, and who for years advocated for war on Iran, have now reluctantly admitted that the US is losing this war, and it's going to have massive geopolitical repercussions on the entire world, leading to the weakening of the US empire, and not only the strengthening of Iran, but also other countries, including China, Russia, and the global South as a whole. Now, independent anti-war voices like us have already been saying this, but what's incredible is it's now being acknowledged even by warmongers in Washington, D.C., again, who are some of the architects of the Iraq War, like this man I'm showing an image of right now. I'll be discussing who exactly he is and what he's saying in a minute or two here. But a brief summary of his argument is that the US is losing this war against Iran, and this loss is going to have an even bigger geopolitical impact than the US loss in the wars against Vietnam and Afghanistan, and this will transform global geopolitics and will strengthen the position of China and Russia and the global South more broadly, and the role of the US will be weakened around the world. So in a moment here, I'm going to go into further detail and explain who the author of the article was. But first, I want to answer the question, why are pro-war neoconservative hawks in Washington admitting this fact? And I think it's quite clear. It's because they can see the writing on the wall. They can see that Trump is extremely unpopular, especially because of this war, but also because of inflation and the cost of living crisis and corruption. But this war has really hurt Trump's popularity even more. And polls show that the vast majority of Americans, at least 60%, and some polls show an even higher percentage of Americans, oppose this war. So now I want to spend a moment briefly explaining the context and how the discourse surrounding the Iran war has evolved in the past few weeks. Now, the US and Israel launched this war of aggression on the 28th of February, and a month later, the British newspaper The Independent acknowledged that Iran was the clear winner, as Trump's desperate bid to end the war shows that he's desperately looking for an off-ramp. This was the foreign media. European media outlets started to acknowledge after a month that the US was losing. Then in mid-April, some US corporate media outlets started to acknowledge that the war was not going well. The Wall Street Journal published an op-ed titled, "For now at least, the Iran war seems to be failing." And this was written by the former editor-in-chief of the Wall Street Journal, who was previously a major supporter of Donald Trump, although he later turned against Trump. Meanwhile, US intelligence agencies have been feeding information to US media outlets acknowledging that the war has been going very badly. The New York Times reported this May that US intelligence shows that Iran still has the vast majority of its missile capabilities. Iran has operational access to 30 of its 33 missile sites along the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is the narrow strait off the coast of Iran, and it's the world's most important oil transit choke point. Before this war, about 20% of the globally traded oil supply passed through this narrow strait on a daily basis. Iran had initially closed down access to the Strait of Hormuz in response to the US-Israeli war of aggression, although Iran has allowed ships from China and Russia and India and countries that it considers to be friendly countries, their ships are allowed to pass through the strait. This angered Washington, so Trump declared a US naval blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. However, US intelligence officials also admitted in an article published by the Washington Post that Iran will be able to withstand this US military blockade of the Strait of Hormuz for many months. Iran actually has leverage. Iran has an advantage here, whereas the US is the country that is not able to maintain this blockade for so long, especially when you consider the fact that Trump's war of aggression has caused the largest oil crisis in history, and this is causing a global economic crisis and a food crisis because many farmers cannot get access to the fertilizers they need to grow food. And then finally, US intelligence officials admitted to the media that Iran has succeeded in defending itself and destroying or heavily damaging the majority of US military bases in the region, in West Asia, also known as the Middle East. Trump, of course, denied this, but the fact that US intelligence officials are leaking so much to the media is a reflection of the fact that this war is obviously going extremely badly. And Trump and his top cabinet members will go out and claim that they're winning the war, but all of these leaks from these US intelligence officials clearly demonstrate that the exact opposite is happening.
Fertilizer shortages are becoming a key factor for farmers. Analysts say it's already shifting expectations for the year ahead. Rabobank projects U.S. farmers will plant nearly 96 million acres of corn and more than 83 million acres of soybeans this spring, largely unaffected by rising input costs. But in other parts of the world, disruptions from the Middle East could hit hardest. Brazil, India, and Australia could limit crop expansion and reduce yields. Analysts say those pressures are most likely to affect farmers with less access to credit, raising concerns for global food production and long-term supply.
Due to the ongoing US-Israel and Iran conflict, you must prepare for a severe food shortage. Most people think only oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz, but that is simply not true. This narrow waterway is also an important route for global fertilizer. Reportedly, around 50% of the world's traded urea fertilizer moves directly through the Strait of Hormuz. If this military standoff continues, a global food crisis is inevitable. Urea plays a critical role in food production, and the biggest producers are located around the Persian Gulf, including Iran, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. Large shipments from these nations pass through this route daily. If the strait remains disrupted, we face a massive fertilizer crisis. When supply drops, global agriculture is heavily affected. Dependent countries like Pakistan, India, Brazil, and African nations will face major problems. If this route stays blocked, the impact goes beyond energy markets, triggering higher food prices, lower crop production, and severe shortages. Tell me below what will happen next.
Farmers across America are not planting. The fertilizer price wave hasn't even hit yet. When farmers stop, every grocery store in America empties, and the damage won't stop until every household feels it. I want to go through a real story that's not really being talked about on mainstream media and how you can actually prepare for it right now. You see, planting never happened, not the way it was supposed to this year. American farmers are stuck between a rock and a hard place. Input costs that doubled and crop prices that didn't even move. There's no profit for a lot of farmers right now. You see, if you plant, you lose money. If you don't plant, you lose the land if you don't own it. And the USDA just confirmed it, the lowest wheat acreage in over 107 years of recorded data. This is already bad from the Iran fertilizer crisis, but it's actually getting worse. And if you feel it, if you don't feel it now, you're going to feel it really soon. So let me break a little bit of this down. Tommy Salisbury Farms in Oklahoma. He leads the Farm Bureau's Young Farmers and Ranchers program. He said it on record. He said, we are paying input prices of 2026, but we're getting crop prices of the 1970s and the 1980s. Lorenda Overman Farms in North Carolina, her fertilizer and nitrogen costs have jumped massively this season, about 56%. That means it's 56% more expensive to grow her crops. The price that she'll get for what she harvests hasn't moved. These aren't economics or economists, reading charts. These are people standing in fields like this, looking at the soil, looking at the costs and saying, this doesn't add up. Planting crops that they know will actually lose money because the alternative is not planting at all and possibly losing their land if they can't keep making the payments or the rent payments, right? On March 31st, the USDA confirmed what farmers actually already knew. The prospective plantings report, based on surveys of nearly 74,000 farm operators, showed that all wheat planted in the country was about 43.8 million acres. This is the lowest level since records began in 1919. Again, 107 years of American agriculture. The country just recorded its lowest wheat planting in the entire history of the data. And if you're a farmer, I would love it if you'd put down in the comments below what you're experiencing right now so I can learn more about what's going on. You see, people don't realize that this report was captured way before the worst of the fertilizer spike hit because the survey was taken in the first 2 weeks of March 2026. The number that you're looking at is actually the optimistic version. The June update is where we're going to see the real damage from what happened in Iran and the blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. You see, two items are at the front of this cascade, and I'm going to get to them. But first, you need to understand why the planting data is worse than what the report shows. All right? Who's telling you that it's fine when it isn't, and what the farmers themselves are doing right now? That tells you exactly where prices are heading, okay? So Josh Linville, the VP of fertilizer at StoneX Group, posted the 6-week damage report from the Hormuz closure on April 10th. He said urea is up 49%. Liquid nitrogen is up 38%. I always pronounce it wrong. Andriathis ammonia is up 32%, and GAP is up 21%. Those are the four inputs, the fertilizer inputs, that determine whether a crop grows to full yield or comes in thin, like what you're seeing in this photo. Every one of them spiked after this survey was actually taken. The USDA's own break-even math tells you those numbers do a farmer's decision for them, right? When corn costs $5 a bushel to grow in 2026, between the seeds, fertilizer, the fuel, the land, the labor, right? But it only sells for $4.20 a bushel, that doesn't make sense. When soybeans cost $127 to produce and they'll sell for, or a lot less to produce, was like, I don't remember the per acre, but they sell for a lot more. The government is pushing data showing American farmers are growing food below the cost of production. So what do? They dive into things like soybeans, right? The American Farm Bureau Federation surveyed farmers directly. 70% of them said they can't afford enough fertilizer this season. And again, look down below into the comments and see what the farmers are saying. It also showed that 19% of Southern farmers actually pre-ordered ahead of the spike when it comes to their fertilizer, right? 78% of them say they can't afford what they need, and 48% of Midwest farmers are in the exact same position. So what are they doing? Well, they're cutting wheat, the most nitrogen-hungry grain, because the nitrogen costs are prohibitive, and they're switching to soybeans. They're cheaper to grow, lower fertilizer demand, and soybean acres are actually up 4%, but the more soybean acres doesn't mean more food on the shelf. An AFDF economist, Faith Pum, said this: when producers cannot afford full fertilizer application rates, they may reduce nutrient use or shift acreage decisions, both of which of these increase the risk of lower yields. They're planting more soybeans because it's cheaper, not because the market needs them. And the soybeans are getting planted and receiving even thinner fertilizer. So you get more acres, right? Less nutrition per acre and higher risk of a thin harvest on the wheat and corn that goes into the ground. So nitrogen is spread thinner, weaker plants, lower per acre yield, and more vulnerability to drought and pests. See, 57% of winter wheat acres are already under drought conditions, which is up from 37% at the same time last year. Three pressures are now compounding on the same crop at the exact same time, and the relief isn't coming fast enough. Now, Linville at StoneX again says it takes 30 days to get a vessel of urea to load up in the Persian Gulf, sail it over here to the U.S., hit the U.S. stores or the shores, and then another 3 to 4 weeks to move that product from the stores to the interior, to the farmers, okay? The window from spring application has closed pretty much. The strait could open any day now, but it's too late. The fertilizer takes 2 months to reach the field. The planting calendar doesn't wait for that. One more thing that the press has missed. Not only that, we've seen like some record drought numbers for the first quarter of this year already. You see, the press keeps missing it. Another thing that they missed is the rate for this year's planting report, which was 37.6, which is the lowest in the survey's history. Pro Farmer flagged it directly, saying fewer farmers answered than ever before. If the one is too stressed to fill out a government survey, they're the ones cutting the most acres. The March numbers, the problems, I believe that this June is going to be nuts. And I think that if you aren't prepared for what's coming, like buying extra food right now, like extra meat for your freezer, a little bit extra canned goods, not going crazy, but just doing something, I think you're going to get hit on the backside of this inflation wave. Because the sad thing is these government numbers are nowhere near reflecting what happened in Iran. And that's a big deal.
All right, sisters and brothers.
These farmers.
All right, so they're saying on the news, the U.S.'s top people are saying that Iran is winning. Excuse me, sisters and brothers. One moment. All right, sisters and brothers. Their top people are saying that Iran is winning this war and that the U.S. is losing this war. They also highlighted how America has a history of going into other countries, murdering the inhabitants of that country, taking over and stealing their resources, and, laying down their regimes of democracy, capitalism, going all over the world, stealing, killing, and destroying in the name of democracy. And capitalism. So that tells you exactly what democracy and capitalism is about. It's not about keeping the peace. It's not about respecting others. It's not about righteousness, discipline, self-control, restraint. It's not about any of that. It's about taking, stealing what does not belong to them. And that's what the devil sets out to do: steal, kill, and destroy. So these methods that they have used to go all over the world, terrorizing and taking what does not belong to them, that's out of season. That stuff isn't working anymore. Iran has become more powerful and stronger from this war. And America has gotten weaker and weaker and weaker. So Trump's up there, lying, saying that the war is going to end in a negotiation or a peace deal. However, as you will see here shortly, that's not what the unsealed scriptures tells us. The unsealed scriptures tells us exactly how this war is going to end. So before we get into that, it shares that men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. What's the earth, sisters and brothers? The earth includes America, Britain, Russia, and the EU. What's heaven? Heaven is the Middle East. So, from looking at the things that are going on in heaven, that's going to cause a severe, let me back up a bit. From looking at those things which are taking place in heaven, which is the Middle East, which are coming to America, and the rest of the Caucasian nations. However, I'm going to focus right here on America right now. From looking at what's coming from the Middle East here to America, that is going to cause men's hearts to fail from fear. So what is so profound, if you will, that is being viewed or that's about to be viewed from the Middle East, causing this type of anticipation and fear to the point of people's hearts failing? That means strokes, heart attacks, heart failure. So what is coming that's going to cause such a profound emotional response? Fear is an emotion. Well, let's get into what's going on in heaven. Heaven is the Middle East. So let's put this here to let you know that what's about to happen in this war, what's already in the process of happening, is going to cause great shock and fear, sisters and brothers. So what's happening in heaven? Let's keep moving. This is Revelations chapter 12, verse 7 through 9. And occurred war in the heaven. The Michael and the angels of him of the two warred with the dragon. And the dragon warred and the angels of it. And not it proved strong. Not but place was found of them yet in the heaven. And was thrown the dragon the great, the serpent the archaic, the being called devil and the Satan, the making to err the being inhabited whole. He was thrown into the earth, and the angels of him with him were thrown. All right. So, and occurred war in the heaven. Heaven is the Middle East. The war in heaven is the war in the Middle East, sisters and brothers. Here we have two groups fighting against each other. Michael and his angels versus the dragon and his angels. It shares that the dragon warred and the angels of it, and not it proved strong. Not but place was found of them yet in the heaven. And was thrown the dragon the great, the serpent the archaic, the being called devil and the Satan, the making to err the being inhabited whole. He was thrown into the earth, and the angels of him with him were thrown. So here, these two groups, Michael and his angels, are fighting the dragon and his angels. We're given the outcome of this war. The dragon and his angels will be defeated. It shares that they will be thrown out of heaven. So this group, the dragon and his angels, it says thrown out. It doesn't say that it don't say a peace deal. It doesn't say a ceasefire. It doesn't say that they retreated. It didn't say that they surrendered. It shares that the dragon and his angels will be thrown out of heaven. So this would be a forceful removal of the dragon and his angels from the Middle East. So who are these key participants, sisters and brothers? Who's Michael and his angels, and who's the dragon and his angels? Let's keep moving. Michael and his angels. Michael is our God, Master Farad Muhammad. His angels are our brothers, Iran and Syria. And scriptures tells us that Michael and his angels will be victorious in this war, defeating the dragon and his angels. Who's the dragon? The House Assad, America, Britain, and false Israel. So the dragon is the House Assad, and his angels are America, Britain, and false Israel. The dragon and his angels will be defeated. So the House Assad will be thrown out of the Middle East. Which is the dragon. America and Britain will be thrown out of the Middle East. All right, and scriptures tells us when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, you will know that her desolation, which means destruction, is near. So it is identified that false Israel will be destroyed, totally annihilated, wiped off the map. So these devils are telling you out their own mouth that America is losing this war and that Iran is winning the war. And the scriptures backs that up. Even Stevie Wonder can see that America is losing. America is under severe economic pressure right now. The next few news clips showed how America has missed the planting season as a result of the Strait of Hormuz being closed. So the resources that they needed to prepare their soil to be able to plant crops, they didn't get that. So that's setting it up for a severe food shortage and a famine. Because we know that Michael and his angels will be successful in this war. So what does that mean for America? We know that America is going to be thrown out of the Middle East. However, what is the consequences of that? Let's keep moving. When Iran wins this war, Iran is going to totally cut off that oil supply that America is getting from the Middle East. Now we see what's happening with the oil supply being under a severe strain. Picture what it's going to be like when they're not getting any oil whatsoever from the Middle East. America depends on oil to run their economy. They need oil to do everything. They need oil for transportation. Without any oil, there's no more driving. There's no more flying airplanes, no more flights. They need oil to plant and harvest crops. They need oil to get that food into the grocery store. They need oil to clean the water. They need oil to run electricity. Without oil, there's no more lights, no more air conditioner. So when that oil tie gets cut off, when that pipeline gets cut off as a result of America losing the war in the Middle East, that is going to cause an immediate economic collapse. And sisters and brothers, most of the damage is already done. As they said on the news, they won't, by the time you realize that this food shortage is here, it'll be too late. It's already in motion, sisters and brothers. That's the point. This famine is already in motion. The economic collapse is already in motion. So there's a lot of propaganda out here trying to deceive you, sisters and brothers. It shares no weapon formed against us shall prosper. That deception is a weapon they're using against us to keep us from connecting the dots, getting in touch with reality, so that we could be in sync. We can make the necessary moves we need to make to come out on top of this. But their weapon is to deceive us so that we don't unite under our vision of the Abrahamic covenant, so that we don't realize that we have a home. We have been promised our own economics, our own land, Arabia, as outlined in the Abrahamic covenant. So we don't need their economics. We just need to get out of here and get to our home. However, their deception plan, part of their deceptive plan, is to keep us from realizing where we're at in time and what part we have in this, sisters and brothers, because this war is all about us. We are the true seed of Abraham. The Abrahamic covenant is our vision. It is our inheritance. It is our reward for enduring that 400 years of enslavement and affliction, the Holocaust. So we are rewarded for that sacrifice that we have made. They don't want you to connect any of those dots. They don't want you panicking, because you might be looking for the door out if you realize how bad shape America is in and what's about to happen in the next few days. You're going to be looking for the lifeline out of here. And they can't have that. So they're pacifying us with entertainment, games, parties, drugs, alcohol, all these different substances, different medications. So it's like they have a pacifier in your mouth to prevent you from crying. Because once that, you're crying, that means you're looking for, in this example, you give that pacifier to the baby to shut them up so you can keep doing what you're doing. Now, that's a harsh way of saying it, but that's the bottom line. Once that pacifier comes out the baby's mouth, then you have to deal with the reality of what's taking place with that child. So, any day, sisters and brothers, America's going to lose the war in the Middle East. And Iran will win this war. Iran is retaliating, responding to the numerous bombings and attacks. America and false Israel murdering women and children, bombing schools and hospitals, seeking out medics, bombing medics, have not kept their word on anything. The U.S. says they'll agree to a ceasefire, then they'll turn around and bomb Iran and Iran's proxies. Then cry when Iran retaliates. So their lies, their deceptions, even their own people. The scripture says even the rocks will cry out. Even their own people are calling them out. Even their top officials are identifying that they are liars, that they are in fact losing this war, that the damage cannot be undone at this point. Even if the Strait of Hormuz was opened up 100% right now, it's too late. That food shortage is already underway. Famine is already on its way. So let's keep moving, sisters and brothers.
I will admit it. I will eat my neighbors. I'm not letting my kids die. I'm just going to be honest. My superpower's being honest. I've extrapolated this out, and I won't have to for a few years because I got food and stuff. But I'm literally looking at my neighbors now and going, I'm ready to hang them up and gut them and skin them and chop them up. And you know what? I'm ready. My daughters aren't starving to death. I'll eat my neighbors. See, my superpower is being honest. I'll eat you. I will. I'm combat model, optimal self-sufficiency. Probably the leader. The point is have you thought about that yet? Because I'm somebody that thought I could fix this, and I'm starting to think about having to eat my neighbors. You think I like sizing up my neighbor, how I'm going to haul him up by a chain and chop his up? I'll do it. My children aren't going hungry. I will eat your That's why I want the globalists to know. I will eat your first. I will eat you. So all you spirit cookers act all tough all day. How you're doing your little satanic rituals, drinking blood and stuff. I'll drink your blood. You understand that? I will hang your up and cut you into cutlets like a filet mignon and grill your before I watch my daughters starve to death. See, now you took society and civilization as if it was some joke you could piss on all day. Dude, you understand? You unleash the animal. Once you do, you unleash the beast, and you're not the beast. I don't claim I'm the most tough guy around, but compared to you, I'm Godzilla on steroids.
These devils are saying themselves what they would do in a situation of famine, which is resort to cannibalism. Alex Jones is saying how he'll eat his own neighbor. He's already planning it. He's already thinking about how he'll string up his neighbor and chop him up and cut him and peel the flesh off of him and eat him. So these devils have already admitted what they would do in a situation of famine, which is where America is heading. What does the scripture say? What does the scripture say? I said, listen, you leaders of Israel. That's speaking about the devils. We're not leading ourselves. They're holding us captive. You are supposed to know right from wrong, but you are the very ones who hate good and love evil. You skin my people alive and tear the flesh from their bones. Yes, you eat my people's flesh, strip off their skin, and break their bones. You chop them up like meat for the cooking pot. Then you beg the Lord for help in times of trouble. Do you really expect him to answer? After all the evil you have done, he won't even look at you. All right, sisters and brothers. Exactly what these devils are admitting that they would do in a famine is what Scripture is telling us that they plan to do to us. And before these devils do it to each other, who do you think is on the menu? Let's look at this. 3/5 human clause in the U.S. Constitution. They've changed made all kind of amendments. They've legalized gay marriage. They've have all these abortion laws, pro-life, pro-abortion laws. They've made all different, put all these different laws into place. They've made all these different kind of amendments, which none of them has benefited the original black men and women, might I add. There's these black politicians, those in the Democratic Party. They're not our people. We don't have the same bloodline. They're devils in black skin, demons, produced from the rape of the original black woman. They have our skin tone, but their devil father's bloodline. They're in these different positions of power. They've supported the genocide, the attempt genocide of the original black man and woman. We have not allowed any of our enemies to be successful in their plans against us, warrior queens. These devils try to rape our seed out of existence. We did not allow that weapon to prevail. That weapon did not prosper. We ensured that Abraham's seed stayed alive by sneaking to reproduce with our original man and keeping our seed coming through our wombs so that we could be here today, standing up for our nation in a time of need, all throughout the Holocaust and presently on post 24/7. So these House Negroes, these Democrats, they haven't changed that 3/5 human clause. Not a peep about it. They claim it's for voting. Well, why not change it? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the laws are because we're seen as lower than animals. So you don't have any rights here, sisters and brothers. However, this is just to highlight that they don't even think that applies to them, because if they did, they'd be raising the roof over that 3/5 human clause. They'd be, saying something about it. They'd be trying to change it. They don't even think that applies to them. When in reality, all blacks are classified as animals. Animals are meat. Meat can be eaten. So these devils have kept us in their back pocket for a rainy day. They have legalized us as their food source. And before they start eating each other, they're going to do what's already legalized, because you got to have some type of, what's the way to say this? Before somebody does something, or, they'll have to feel like they're justified in doing it. So that way their psyche can be at peace with what they're doing. All throughout the Holocaust, they used the sealed Bible as their justification for all of the things that they did to us. They say that we're Ham, cursed, black, to be slaves forever and ever and ever. So by them beating and raping us and all the things that they did to us, they felt justified in their minds. They didn't feel bad about it. So apply that to this situation right here. Before they start eating each other, they're going to do what's already illegal, because that helps ease the mind. They feel justified in doing so because we're classified as meat. Let's keep moving, sisters and brothers. Book of Deuteronomy. The most tender-hearted man among you will have no compassion for his own brother, his beloved wife, and his surviving children. He will refuse to share with them the flesh he is devouring, the flesh of one of his own children, because he has nothing else to eat during the siege and terrible distress that your enemy will inflict on all your towns. The most tender and delicate woman among you, so delicate she would not so much as touch the ground with her foot, will be selfish toward the husband she loves and toward her own son or daughter. She will hide from them the afterbirth and the new baby she has born, so that she herself can secretly eat them. She will have nothing else to eat during the siege and terrible distress that your enemy will inflict on all your towns. Sisters and brothers, this is showing how extreme the extreme measures that these devils are about to take. We see extremes right here in this scripture. The most tender-hearted man among you will have no compassion for his own brother, his beloved wife, and his surviving children. They won't have any unity. The most tender-hearted and delicate woman among you, so delicate she would not so much as touch the ground with her foot. I mean, she's so tender and delicate that she won't even walk around barefoot. She will be selfish toward the husband she loves and toward her own son or daughter. She will hide from them the afterbirth and the new baby she has born. Eating the afterbirth and the new baby, so that she herself can secretly eat them. Eating the afterbirth and the new baby. So not only are they eating each other, not only will this cannibalism, they're looking to eat us first. All blacks are on the menu. All right, sisters and brothers, we're going to avoid that attack as well. That's a weapon, that cannibalism weapon formed against us that will not prosper. However, look at the details of the scripture. Not only will they be eating each other's flesh, they'll also be eating each other's waste. She's going to eat her own waste. The afterbirth is the waste. The blood, the guts, the placenta. So they'll be eating their own waste and each other's flesh. And she's going to secretly do this. So how can you hide your afterbirth and your new baby that you have born? How can that happen? That means she would have to give birth in silence. That's an extreme measure as well. So all that pain and suffering will happen in silence, just so she can secretly eat that baby and the afterbirth. These devils are not playing, sisters and brothers. We are heading into unprecedented times. That means you're going to see things that you never saw before and will never see again. Shares that she will have nothing else to eat during the siege and terrible distress that your enemy will inflict on all your towns. That means there will be no food, period. No food whatsoever. So this is highlighting this famine that's coming to America. There is no stockpiles. There's no, you see what I'm saying? If they have food, let me back up a bit. Whatever food America does have, once this famine occurs, won't be for us. And it shares that they won't have any food either. So whatever they have, as soon as this economic collapse takes place, that will be quickly gone. So there is no, they don't have scriptures is making it clear that there won't be any food whatsoever. So you see all these devils on YouTube, they're talking about, stocking food in their houses and planting stuff in their houses. And sisters and brothers, we must stay focused on our vision of getting out of America and returning home to our promised land, Arabia. We're not stocking up food. And just think about that. That'd make you a target. Everybody else starving and you got food in your house. You're putting a target right on you, sisters and brothers, which the target is already on us because we are the true seed of Abraham. And that is going to be revealed to the whole world when this war, or during this war. False Israel has stolen our identity. They're claiming that they are us. They claim they're God's chosen people. They don't have any history to back that up. They're not in the land that has been identified in the Abrahamic covenant that belongs to the true seed of Abraham, which is Arabia. They're sitting in Jerusalem. They're over there pretending to be us in a land that they shouldn't even be in. Therefore, they are an abomination that's causing destruction of the Palestinians. False Israel's not over there fighting for a land that belongs to them. They're fighting to maintain control and lies over a land that was never theirs to begin with, a land that they have stolen and are currently occupying. However, scriptures tells us that false Israel is about to be destroyed. So it's clear, sisters and brothers, that America will not win this war. America's losing right now. The fact that they are lying on the news, spreading all this propaganda, shows that they are being defeated. Because when you're winning, you don't need to be lying, trying to paint a picture that is not real. So let's keep moving, sisters and brothers. Motivation, warrior queens. Don't be worried. It's our job to take the information being given, apply it, so that we can be in sync. Hearing about a famine can be worrying for a mother. You're wondering, what are you going to do? How are you going to feed your children? However, scriptures tells us in the book of Isaiah, this is therefore this is what the sovereign Lord says. My servants will eat, but you will starve. My servants will drink, but you will be thirsty. My servants will rejoice, but you will be sad and ashamed. My servants will sing for joy, but you will cry in sorrow and despair. So we see two major contrasts right here in this scripture. Two different experiences happening at the same time. We will eat, sisters and brothers, while they starve. This is letting you know that during this time of this unprecedented time, unprecedented trouble, we will be protected, sisters. We will be secured. We will eat. We will drink. It identifies what kind of spirit we're going to have. Fired up, rejoicing, singing for joy. Does that sound like someone who's sitting on the devil's dinner plate? Does that sound like somebody whose heart is failing from fear? Does that sound like somebody who's going hungry? Does that sound like somebody who's dehydrated? Does that sound like somebody whose baby is starving? Understand that the scriptures are for us, and we're being told this information in advance so that we can move on this information, apply this information. Therefore, we're several steps ahead of these devils, in sync with these scriptures. Our victory is written all throughout the scriptures, sisters. And we have a winning streak all throughout history. We have been victorious, and we are victorious today. The fact that we are here today reflecting the light shows that We are victorious. We're still here. They tried to wipe our seed out of existence. We're still standing. They tried to put that jab on us, that COVID shot. Still here. They tried to wipe us out with that. They knew that the plague was passing over us and striking them down because they don't have the blood of the Lamb. We do. Therefore, we are immune to that COVID-19 plague. So, motivation, inspiration, warrior queens, soldiers, maker, owner, cream of the planet Earth, goddess of the universe. Through discipline, which is our nature, we will come together as one body, uniting under one vision, which is the Abrahamic covenant. And our discipline, the 5 mathematical pillars of Islam, understanding how consequence works. For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. Fasting, 1 meal a day. Firming our hearts. We do that by carefully reciting the Quran. Charity. We do that. Again, the 5 mathematical pillars of Islam, this is our nature, sisters. Charity. We do that every day. Taking care of our children. Sacrificing our bodies to keep Abraham's seed alive. And Hajj, harmonic motion. Us coming together and uniting under one vision, the Abrahamic covenant. That's our protection, sisters and brothers. That's our protection, warrior queens. Our discipline is our protection. And by applying discipline, operating off of our nature, these devils cannot touch us. That's why it shares, no weapon formed against us shall prosper. They will not be able to touch a hair on our head. Understand that we're coming up out of here unscathed, every part of our body intact. Not so much as a broken fingernail. Men's hearts failing from fear, that won't be us. Because we know how to firm our hearts. So we won't be in an emotional shock when this famine hits, when this economic collapse takes place. So with that being said, sisters, be prepared to move out at any moment. It's wise to have a 30-day supply of food in your car that does not need to be cooked. Understanding that we have to get to this point. Food won't be dropped off at our door. We have to get to the food. We have to get to the safety point. So while we're in that transition, we want our children to be comfortable. So it's wise to have a 30-day supply of food that doesn't need to be cooked. It's wise to have a few gas cans of gas in your car that's properly secured so that you can pull out at any moment, sisters. So be courageous. We are the evidence of our victory. And we're going to see our victory on a whole nother level in the next few days. With that, that brings this segment to a close. Thank you for having me, and I will be back with more. Assalamu alaikum.